So Billy Joe Saunders has announced today that he will be moving up to super middleweight in his next fight to fight for the vacant WBO super middleweight world title, which was recently vacated by Gilberto Ramirez. He's going to be facing a guy called Shefat Isfu. Excuse me. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Yeah, I could be wrong, I could be mistaken, so apologies if I'm getting it wrong. He is a German fighter who was born in Serbia. He's 29 years old, 5'11", brings a record of 27 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, with 20 knockouts. Okay. So I'm just on his box rec here, and he's got no names that I recognise. He's made his debut in 2010. Started off with a draw, a win, and a draw. Okay, not too great. He then had his first loss in 2014 against a guy called Dennis Ronnet, who was undefeated, 19-0 at the time. That was a cruiserweight, wow. And then fought again 2 weeks later and lost again. So it's not too often you see a fighter fight twice in 2 weeks. He was stopped there in 2015 at light heavyweight by a guy called Darius Sek, who I've never even heard of. Darius Sek. I look at his box rec, he's lost Anthony Yard in the 7th round. Wow. I don't remember that fight. Don't remember that fight at all. Yeah, genuinely don't remember that fight at all. So he lost to a guy that Anthony Yard knocked out. Wow. That's not filling me with any confidence. So I'm still on this box right here. He basically has been fighting up as high as light heavyweight up until basically last year. His first fight at super middleweight in February of last year. He's had two fights at super middleweight. And he's already fighting for a vacant WBO title. Wow. That's the WBO for you. They just make their rules up as they go along. A bit like all the sanctioning bodies, to be fair. But 2 fights at super middleweight against guys I've never heard of. One guy was 56-13. The other guy was 14-1-3. So not exactly, stellar opponents. And yeah, he's fighting now, Billy Joe, for the vacant WBO super middleweight world title. Now, I gotta ask the question why Billy Joe has decided to move up to super middleweight, because Billy Joe, he's never really been the biggest middleweight in the world. He's not a small middleweight, but he's definitely not a big middleweight. He used to, I think, struggle to make the weight a couple of years back when he was, cutting down from about 15 stone. But I think since he started training with Dominic Ingle, I think he's even said like he can make the weight a good bit easier. So why is he moving up in weight? Especially now when you consider he's basically mandatory for Demetrius Andrade's WBO middleweight title. Well, I think that Billy Joe and Frank Warren, they see this as kind of an easier path to a world title, which, judging by this guy's record on BoxRec, it probably is, to be fair. But they're also, I think, targeting the winner of the Gail Eubank. I think that's kind of a big target for them. I think it's a bit like Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr., he's not really a super middleweight, but I think he sees more opportunity up at super middleweight than he does at middleweight. And I think if you look at Billy Joe, if he was to fight Demetrius Andrade next, that's a risky fight. That's a very dangerous fight for Billy Joe. It's a fight that he could definitely win. Billy Joe is incredibly skilled. He's got a great skill set. He's very slick. He's a fantastically talented fighter. But so is Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade is a very, very good fighter. I've always been keen on Demetrius Andrade ever since I saw him fight Brian Rose. That was the guy. The only one fight from Demetrius Andrade I've kind of looked at him with a bit of a, kind of raised eyebrow was the Jack Kulkai fight, which was in Germany. And I think that kind of made me realise that Andrade maybe doesn't travel the best. So, him against Billy Joe, I would have favoured Andrade in that fight. And I think maybe Billy Joe and Frank Warren, they just see this route as a lot easier and maybe more, beneficial to them financially. Because, let's say for argument's sake, he was to lose to Demetrius Andrade. Would he get a Golovkin fight off that with no title? Would he get a Canelo fight? I don't think so. So, Billy Joe taking this fight at super middle against a guy who will be bigger than him. He'll be a good bit bigger in terms of body mass. This guy's a light heavyweight, essentially, cutting down to super middleweight. So, he'll be the smaller man in here, Billy Joe. And that might be an issue, but I think in terms of skills, judging by this guy, he's lost to one of Anthony Yard's opponents, which says it all, really, kind of. I don't think he'll have too much trouble, Billy Joe. What would he do after it, provided he wins? Because I'll really need to go and look up his opponent on YouTube just to see if, maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. So, if Billy Joe wins, where would he go next? Would it be Eubank Jr. to Gale? Or if he was to win this WBO super middleweight title, would that tempt Canelo into a fight? Providing how the Danny Jacobs fight goes. That was a tongue twister. Because if you think of it like this, Canelo is still the WBA regular champion at super middleweight. If Billy Joe wins the WBO world title at super middleweight, would Canelo not want that fight? It's a more legitimate world title at super middleweight than the regular belt. He's been champion with the WBO at 154, so I think that would be. I think Canelo would be looking at that fight with with his glasses on. He'll be really keeping a close eye on that fight, because either man wins that fight, I'm sure Canelo would see either of them as an opponent, a future opponent, because if Billy Joe wins, that's a good fight. That's a great fight for the WBO super middleweight title. If his opponent wins, whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce, Canelo might see that as taking candy from a baby. So I think that whoever wins that fight, whether it be Billy Joe, who I think will win, by the way, I'll be picking Billy Joe strongly to win that fight. They might be able to get into a Canelo fight. They could also target the winner of the Gale Eubank. Now, Billy Joe, he's already beaten Eubank, but I'm sure he would love to have that rematch. The only issue I see with the Eubank fight, providing Eubank wins, would be maybe to get the deal worked out. Would Billy Joe box at ITV? Would it be on BT Sport? Would it be pay-per-view on BT Sport? Would it be, I think I can see a few issues there. Whereas if the Gale wins against Eubank, it might be a bit easier to make that fight, because the Gale tends to just go from promoter to promoter and just, network to network. So it'll probably be easy enough to make it the Gale fight. But a Eubank fight, as much as we'd probably like to see it, it might be a bit trickier. So, those are my thoughts on this. Feel free to leave yours down below. What do you think? Has anyone seen this opponent, Shefat? I'm not even going to pronounce the last name, fight. I know I haven't. I'll look him up on YouTube straight after this video and see if I can kind of get an idea of where he is in terms of skill set. How do you think the fight will go? Has Billy Joe made the right move, in the long run, as opposed to, staying at middleweight and fighting Demetrius Andrade? So leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys think. And, as always, please like the video. Please share the video as well. That always helps. And, subscribe if you're new. Hope you like the content. Hope you like the video. And as always, I will talk to you after.